Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. This is Live Irish Myths, episode number 212. Can you believe it? It's a nippy one here in the Bóinne Valley. The stars are shining. I see it was at Wayne Bird there in the comments talking about Jupiter and Venus. They are getting closer and closer and closer. I'm not sure when the rendezvous is. I think it's early March. They'll be very close in the sky. Let's keep the fingers crossed for clear skies for that one, because that's going to be very special. Don't forget, on the 22nd of this month, uh, the position will change from Europe to America, but on the evening of the 22nd, a very slender crescent moon will join the pairing of Venus and Jupiter in the west after sunset, which should be really, really nice. So looking forward to that. Yeah, Venus and Jupiter just shining brilliantly at the moment. Mars higher up in the sky in Taurus. And don't forget the green comet, which I believe is, it was in recent days in the vicinity of Mars in Taurus, making its way slowly, I believe, towards Orion. If you get a chance, grab yourself a pair of binoculars and have a look. First to say hello tonight was Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter, who's nice and early and settled for this evening's live stream. Good evening to you. Helen Hirsch-Chatter-Giagwich. And glad to hear that it's sunny and warm in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Michelle Woodburn may need to pop off and catch the replay. We'll be thinking of us all. That's perfectly okay, Michelle. Thank you for joining us and for saying hello. Spike Willow is in the house. Hey, hey! Is that? Is it? What does that mean? Is that just like hello? Sláinte. Big hello to you. Who else have we got? Yes, Wayne, the aforementioned Wayne Bird, talking about all the beautiful stars in the sky. That's the wonderful thing about this time of year. The days are getting longer, but we still see brilliant stars early enough in the evening. And that brilliant constellation Orion, surrounded by all those other brilliant stars, as Aldebaran in Taurus and Procyon in Canis Minor, and Sirius, the brightest star, in Canis Major, and above Taurus, Capella in Auriga, makes a really lovely scene. Who else have we got? Desiree is on a road trip to Louisiana to visit her family with Amadeus. Safe trip to you and the dog, Desiree. Hope you're having a great time. Auntie Joe is in the house from Colorado, where apparently it's sunny and beautiful. Well, this is what I expect from Colorado. I associate Colorado with sun and beauty and mountains, but I imagine it gets cold. What's the name of that place that's at the gateway to? Speaking to somebody there the other day, Estes. Is it Estes Park? Estes Park? Is that the name? Or Estes something or other? Gateway to the Rocky Mountain. The gateway to the Rocky Mountains. I've never been, but I've seen enough pictures to kind of make me say, yeah, that's a place I'd like to go and see. You know, pop into Denver on the way past. You know, I'm checking the map now as I say that because I'm doubting myself. Estes Park. Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I hope I have the pronunciation right. You know me and butchering pronunciations. Mariana Dunn is wishing Desiree and Amadeus safe travels. Have extra Mardi Gras fun for me. Hope you get the king baby. That's presumably a message to Desiree from Joe. Mariana Dunn says it's overcast in Virginia. Well, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. And us boasting about either sunny skies in the States or starry skies over here. Adrian O'Beglin. Good evening, Sláinte. Adrian, hope you are keeping well. And John Main says, greetings to all the two are from Redmond, Washington. Sorry to miss you last week. Was visiting Portland, Oregon. Hope everyone's keeping well. You seem to be doing a whole West Coast trip there, John. Hope that's going well. And it's brilliant that you're moving around so much. Variety is the spice of life, they say. Say hello to all the Mythical Ireland friends in Washington State. Alan Hoskins is in Ballina, Killaloe. Never can make up his mind which one it is. Alan, I'm of course only pulling your leg, but a very good evening to you. Desiree, I love you guys. Thanks for all the warm wishes. Brilliant stuff. Facebook user is who? Now let's find out. Let us find out who Facebook user is. Apologies, because that's somebody commenting on the Mythical Ireland community, and for some reason their name does not appear on the live stream. It's very annoying, but it is what it is, I suppose. That is, who is that? Who is that? That is, oh, of course, that's Anne Scott Doherty. We're getting ready for some wintry weather. Hope it doesn't do too much now, Anne. And Daniel Fagan is in Armagh. Greetings to you, Anthony, and the whole gang. Hello, Daniel. A very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. Don't forget, I should say, any of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so that you get notifications every time there's a new live stream or a new video. Helen is saying hello to John, rightly so. Lynn Foley is sneaking in from work, or sneaking you in from work. That's perfectly okay, Lynn, and I would consider it a great thing to break up the working day to participate in live Irish Myths. Jacqueline Kelly Adams says, hello from the Pacific Northwest. Great to see you, Jacqueline. Hope life is well with you. Always a joy. Rex Fortenberry says, Banachty O here alligator tua. Am I guessing right, Rex, as in you are in Florida? If you're not in Florida, you might tell me where you are. Everglades, somewhere down that direction. Michael Pike comes to talk to Anthony to Tommy Goa, August Tussa, August Tufain, Mihal. Fine business. Michelle Woodburn says, hang loose. Mark Gordon is in Iowa, the great state of Iowa. I'm just putting the heat up a little bit. It's a little bit nippy. And then after a while, I'll be complaining about being too warm. Don't forget Mars in Taurus, says Astro. Yes, indeed. I believe I did mention it. But yes, the beautiful red planet shining quite brightly this past while. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter says, yes, Estes Park. Yes, yes, yes. And Helen, yes. I think I have the pronunciation right. Tom King is in the house. Hello there, Anthony and the Mighty Tua. A beautiful spring day in the Boyne Valley. Super stretch in the evening with the stars looking in. It's story time. Enjoy all. I hope the forge is lit and shining brightly. I thought when I was looking out at the stars a little while ago that I could see the reflection of the flames of the forge burning brightly in the sky over me. Tell me I'm wrong, Tom. But wonderful to see him. Mavanway Mulward says, good evening, Anthony and Tua. I've been catching up on the episodes I missed. Laughed all the way through episode 201, Mythical Ireland Gold. I think there's a career in stand-up comedy for you, Anthony. Mavanway, I think I've told you this before, and if my family were listening and watching, they would say, don't encourage him, please. Like, for instance, this morning, I woke up in a clown costume. I must have been sleeping funny. Michelle Woodburn says, just be prepared. That landing in Denver is bumpy. Oh, okay. Forewarned is forearmed, as to say. Karen Fay O'Loughlin is joining us also from gorgeous, no less, gorgeous Boulder, Colorado. Yes, Estes Park at the entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park. Brilliant stuff, Karen, and thank you. We have, I don't know what it is. I mean, Pacific Northwest is a pocket, and various other places, but there seems to be a particular pocket of following for Mythical Ireland in Colorado, which is great. Grace, is it Cloper Ironside says, hello, new here, Arizona, and it's snowing. My elevation is 6,700 feet high in the mountains. Do you know what? The highest mountain in Ireland is Carrauntoohil in the county of Kerry. And it is 3,400 feet high. You almost are at double the highest elevation in Ireland. But anyway, I hope the snow doesn't cause you too many problems. Hopefully you're wrapped up nice and warm with a cup of cocoa or a mug of tea or a dram of some sort and enjoying yourself. Big shout out to Desiree, says Tom, as she drives along. Safe traveling. And Adrian is welcoming back Mavanway. Well, as always, the community showing their wonderful, friendly spirit. Britt Griffin says, snow raining here in Northern Ontario. Hello to everyone. Glad to hear. Britt, great to hear from you. Snow raining. I wonder at what time in Northern Ontario, at what time of the year would you expect the snow to be gone, melted away, and for summer to finally arrive? Irish technical thinker, who is Marcus, says, greetings to a, well, Fáilte, Marcus. Nice of you to join us. Thank you for that very nice comment on, I believe it was one of my videos about the recent vandalism there. nice of you to comment. Catherine Knox is in saying hello from Derry, Londonderry, Dundurra, the Oakwood. Catherine, it's a pleasure to have you in Live Irish Myths in the Mythical Ireland Library. I hope you enjoy yourself. You'll get a warm welcome from all of the people here, as always. Alva Kelly says, staying warm and toasty with a hot beverage. That's the sort of stuff I like to hear. Bannock absolutely, Alva. Anna Liffey's looking forward to tomorrow and maybe a secret Valentine's Day card. Well, hello there. Hopefully you will get your wishes. Hint, hint. If the bloke who's sending it or whoever is watching, hint, hint. Get it in the letterbox tomorrow. Adina Sparks is in the house and she says it's cloudy and windy here. I am sorry to hear that, but the good thing about cloudy and windy weather is that it's even more comfortable to be indoors watching Live Irish Myths. Marcia Downs just wanted to say sláinte, which means, as you know, health. Or, if you want to extend it, your good health. Yes, indeed, Marcia. Sláinte to you also. Pader Shields is in the house. Hi all. Hello, Pader. Welcome to Live Irish Myths. Rex Fortenberry says, nope, still in Louisiana. Ah, okay. They have alligators in Louisiana as well. Expecting rain in Redmond, but the weekend was lovely, says John. Glad to hear it. There are signs of spring in the air in parts of the Northern Hemisphere, specifically the Boyne Valley, where the weather forecast says it's going to be a mild week, relatively mild, with very little rain and a mixture of cloud and sunshine. So hopefully it'll be a nice spring week here. Nora Gaffney O'Connor's in the house. GAE of Coolagina, here and present. Let the games begin. Yes, indeed. A quote from a previous episode about a lecture that I did about drone henge and all that. Kelly Kelly is in Seattle, where life is good and better, for tuning in to be with you all. Welcome, Kelly. Hope you are safe, warm, sound, all of that. Michael Trott is in New Zealand, a national state of emergency with our second recent storm. It's becoming more stormy. No real summer in the north, especially. Conasata to a Mihal is Anandum towards an early autumn. That's not nice. That's not good, Michael. I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that there's an improvement. There are some weird weather patterns around the world. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully you've managed to escape it or escape the worst of it. A few people laughing. I presume that's at that terrible joke I told a few minutes ago. I don't think the jokes were making me laugh, says Mavanwe. What did you say? Episode 201, was it? Let me just quickly look at what that was. More about Irish place names. Okay, well, I'll have to watch that one back myself, see if I get a chuckle. The full Irish Gary says, Giagwich, great and good to another grand day on the sod. All the good signs for a great summer. Yes, indeed. Fabulous. And there's something about Bridget's Day weather, and if it's too good that day, it's not a good sign. But if it's not good that day, it's a good sign. And it wasn't really that great on St. Bridget's Day, so hopefully that's a good sign. Of course, that's a whole 12 days ago now. Where's the time going to at all? It's flying around. Brendan Byrne says, had to pull a ghoster, but I'm here. Hello all. What does that mean, Brendan? I mean, does that mean you're down in the cemetery at Glendalough hunting ghosts in the witching hour under the stars? Very good of you to join us. Thank you. And hello to all our friends in County Wicklow. Susan Scott says, and this is the year for warm weather and no snow in northwest Connecticut. 50 Fahrenheit here again. Okay, 50 Fahrenheit to Celsius. Let's Google that. That's 10 Celsius. That's all right, Susan. That's okay. We'll take that, says you. Anna Liffey says, I think he heard you about the Valentine's Day card and maybe flowers too. Excellent. Hey, throw in some chocolates while you're at it. Oh, and a joke book. Oh, no, hang on. That's what I want. Sorry. Gordon A. Farrell is in the house. Hello, Gordon. Welcome to Live Irish Myths. How good of you to join us. A pleasure to speak to you in recent days. All the way from County Longford, in the heartlands of Ireland. You will laugh all the way through, says Mavanwe. There are times when I am exceptionally giddy, and there are times when you're all the judge of that, not me. but there are times when it appears that I might be occasionally funny. I found a book the other day about an amazing basement. It was a bestseller. Michael Trott says, yes, safe and dry here. Thanks, Anthony Augustua. Well, glad to hear it, Michael. And let's hope it stays that way. Catherine Hupp is in Denver, Colorado. See what I mean? There's a whole pocket of you there, and the house is packed with Coloradoans. If I may be so bold as to presume that that's how you collectively refer to yourselves. In the library tonight. Catherine, you're very welcome. I hope you're having a great day. Yeah. I know, right? Funny. I was walking down the road this morning and I was hit by a violin, a cello, then a clarinet and a piano. I think it was an orchid attack. Anyway, I'm up to date with the comments. Thank you all, as I say, for joining us. If you're watching this back on YouTube or Facebook, I would remind you that this is a big part of Live Irish Myths and has been since the first episode, that we say hello to everybody and we greet them and we make them feel welcome. Because I've had over a period of time complaints on YouTube about, when are we going to actually get to the episode? Why do we have to listen to all this? Like, this is part and parcel of the experience. If you're not here live, you're missing out on it. And by the way, there's a little scroll bar on YouTube. You can scroll past the hellos to get to the juicy bit, you know? No, it really wasn't the joke, says Melanie. I'm going to have to watch that now when we're finished. Definitely, I think. Tonight, thanks to somebody who shared it on one of the groups, that William Wakeman, and I realized that I had a PDF copy of it, so I printed out some pages. William Wakeman's Antiquities, Hand-Book of Antiquities of Ireland, which was originally published in 1840. Okay, apologies. Give me a second, folks. I do apologize. Oh, excuse me. Anthony, please prepare for these, will you? His Handbook of Antiquities was originally called... sorry. I'll get there. I will, honestly. This is from the Royal Irish Academy. Archaeologia Hibernica, which basically means the Archaeology of Ireland, a handbook of Irish antiquities, pagan and Christian, especially such as are easy access from the Irish metropolis. Published in 1848, republished and expanded in 1891. That's the version I'm reading from. And also published posthumously again in 1903. So who was William Wakeman? He was a Dublin-born antiquary and artist. I'm reading this from the Royal Irish Academy website. You can also do that if you so wish. Just want to make sure. Kathleen Gallagher, bestseller. Sounds of seals, fins, clapping, and bark. Hello to all. Looking forward to today's session. Gorgeous today in New York. I'm glad to hear that the weather's so nice in so many places. It isn't nice everywhere, but hey, look, it is what it is. We get our bad days, our dreary grey days too, I can assure you. So he was a Dublin-born antiquarian artist, having been taught drawing by George Petrie. George Petrie is described as the father of Irish archaeology. While still a teenager, he secured employment as a draftsman in the topographical section of the Ordnance Survey. He served as an assistant to John O'Donovan between 1839 and 1842. We have previously spoken about the huge importance of John O'Donovan's work with the Ordnance Survey and collecting the lore and folklore and place names of so many places around Ireland. And of course, our friend John Creedon mentions him quite a lot in his book, That Place Called Home. In this role, he travelled extensively in counties Clare, Galway, Kilkenny, Tipperary, Waterford and Wexford, sketching antiquities such as castles, monasteries, round towers and stone crosses that had been noted by O'Donovan. He also sketched many antiquities in County Dublin, including some at Swords, Lusk, St. Duloc's, Howth, Kilbarrack, Clontarf, Finglas, Kilmainham, Ballyfermot, Donnybrook, Talla, Kiltiernan, Carrickmines and Clondalkin. Palmerstown as well, and other places. Many of the drawings prepared by Wakeman are preserved in the Ordnance Survey drawings collection in the Royal Irish Academy Library. Most are pencil sketches, just 2 are watercolours. Robin Moonshadow, hello there, and a very good evening. We haven't started the reading yet, so you are not late. You'll be glad to hear. Who else is here? Sandra Boothroyd. Hello, Sandra. Fáilte, Trónóna. Yeah, so I'm going to read today's advertisement, as it were, for the live stream. I said I'd read about Brúna, Bóinne and Tara. I'm actually reading about Brúna, Bóinne and Loughcrew. I don't know whether I'll get as far as Loughcrew, and we will maybe devote another episode to it if you deem it interesting enough and you find that you're interested enough, you know. A couple of people saying that the stream is blacking out. Mavanway is on Facebook. It must be the jokes. I wouldn't be surprised. Written and published during the Irish famine, says Irish technical thinker. Yes. Yeah, I know. That tells a story, doesn't it? He probably didn't go hungry. Sheila, is it O'Sullivan? Enjoying the show from Newmarket. John Keneally, writer, Schindler's Ark, with us for a month. Brilliant stuff. And of course, Schindler's Ark was the basis. I'm terribly sorry. Didn't have dinner too long ago, and it's repeating on me now. Schindler's Ark was the basis for Schindler's List, wasn't it? The movie, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Joseph O'Hirda, bonsoir. Trónóna, Joseph, and welcome. Fáilte go dtí on Laurelin show. The old heater's not staying on, so I have to boost it. Anyway, so this is the chapter called Chapter 4, Graves and Cemeteries. So, it begins at Hazelwood in Sligo, but it moves very quickly on to Brúna, Bóinne. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. And let's see how we get on. And as I say, if it's interesting enough, we can do another episode maybe next week, you know. The extraordinary megalith remaining in the Deer Park, Hazelwood Demesne, near Sligo, has for many years proved a sore puzzle to writers on the subject of Irish lapidary antiquities. I have to look it up, folks. I don't know what it means. Relating to the engraving, cutting, or polishing of stones and gems. Lapid, of course, the lapis. Yes. It's from Latin. Lapidary. Or a person who cuts, polishes, or engraves gems. Ah, excellent. Lapidary studies. Yes, indeed. Fascinating stuff. Dinner talking behind your back, says Robin Moonshadow. Yes, indeed. It seems impossible to class it with any monument known to British or Irish archaeologists, although indeed more than one visionary antiquary has styled it the Irish Stonehenge. The structure consists primarily of an oblong or blunted oval figure formed of rude, undressed stones, generally of inconsiderable length and thickness and averaging but 2 or 3 feet in height. This central area extends as nearly as possible east and west. Its extreme length is 50 feet 6 inches, its greatest diameter 28 feet. From the western end extends an oblong compartment constructed of stones similar to those forming the oval, measuring 27 feet in length by 12 feet 6 inches in breadth. The entrance to this extension is by a kind of portal. I love that word. He doesn't mean it in that way. He means a door, but portals and megalithic sites we like to think of as mysterious access points to other worlds, other realms, other places. Measuring 27, is the entrance to this extension is by a kind of portal, the sides of which consist of 2 rude, unhewn stones. They must be naked if they're rude, or maybe they're telling bad jokes, about 3 feet in height. These are surmounted by a horizontal lintel about 8 feet long and 2 feet 6 inches in thickness. We thus have a perfect trilithon. Ferguson, in his rude stone monuments, is it James or Samuel? I never remember which of the Fergusons wrote rude stone monuments. James. Who is Samuel Ferguson? Why do I keep getting those mixed up? Anyway. Potentious portals, perhaps, says Michael, with his stunning alliteration. PPP. Yes, indeed. Ferguson, in his rude stone monuments, very incorrectly states that these stones, like those forming two similar entrances to be noticed further on, have been squared and partially dressed. I told you they were rude. They're only partially dressed. Never mind. I'll move on. Most undoubtedly, they have never been touched by hammer or chisel. The western apartment, it should be observed, is divided by two projecting stones, which may have been capped with a lintel. Thank you, Joseph. Yes, indeed, it is James. The space between them is barely sufficient to allow the passage of a moderately sized man. This end of the monument is composed of two stones of great size, the outermost leaning against its neighbour. They are about 7 feet in length, 2 feet in thickness, and over 6 feet in height, etc., etc., etc. And I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I'm conscious of the fact that I do not want to. I want to cover the whole of the Newgrange Doubt section, and without running out of time. Greetings from Dublin, sneaking in late. That is Caitlin Moon. A wizard is never late, nor is he early, or she. She arrives precisely when she means to. Welcome, welcome. In the Shanachas na Relic, and of course we have mentioned this in previous live streams, the history of the cemeteries, one of our most ancient manuscripts preserved in the library of the Royal Irish Academy, we have a list of the regal cemeteries of Erin during a long period prior to the advent of St. Patrick. The late Dr. Petrie, in quoting this tract, observes that, quote, judging from its language, its age must be referred to a period several centuries earlier than that in which its transcriber flourished. It is also to be observed that this tract is glossed in its original, especially by Moyle Murray himself, who's the author, and that such explanations of the transcriber are given within crotchets, both in the Irish text and the translation of it, unquote. Karen Gogus is in the house. Hello, dear friends. Well, Karen, I'm glad to hear that you were safe and sound in that awful earthquake that has affected your fellow country folk and, of course, your neighbours in Syria. Really awful stuff. Dreadful, dreadful stuff. But glad to hear. Maharahan Rush. Have I pronounced that right? Is a great site. I was so glad to get a chance to see it. Brilliant stuff. That's in County Sligo, I think, isn't it? Moyle Murray must have made his compilation and transcription at Clonmacnoise around AD 1100. We are informed in this venerable tract that, quote, and of course we've spoken about this. I'm not sure if did we do a live stream on it about Dronehenge and the Enoch sites. That it would have been mentioned in one of those. I can't specifically remember. Anyway, let's do it again. Derek Hollingsworth. Anything ancient beyond the obvious that I should check out in Trim? Let me think about that. But a very good evening to you, Derek. At Tulchin, the kings of Ulster were used to bury... Sorry, I missed a paragraph. Apologies. These were the chief cemeteries before the faith, i.e. before the introduction of Christianity, viz. Crochan, Brew, Tulchin, Loughcrew Alva, Enoch Alva, Enoch Cully, Enoch Coleman, and Chower Aaron. Now, in the talk that I gave, I'm trying to remember, was that the one I gave at Ishnock last year? And then I repeated it on a live stream, or was that the one I gave in Drogheda Library for the summer solstice? You'll find it. But I did mention in that talk that Crochan is Rathcroghan or Crochan Brew is Bóinne, Tulchin is Loughcrew, Loughcrew Alva is the Fornox complex, and Chower Aaron, of course, is the Hill of Tara. At Tulchin, the kings of Ulster were used to bury, viz. Olaf Fola with his descendants, down to Crohor or Concovar, who wished that he should be carried to a place between Slay and the sea, with his face to the east, on account of the faith which he had embraced. Should be interesting. I've had a lot of commentary about the vandalism, of course, of the Lea Foyle at the Hill of Tara that took place last week. Actually, I think that was this night last week that took place. I made some commentary about the British Israelite interest and the whole religious undertone to what might be going on at Tara. I suspect that the attacks on Lea Foyle were religiously motivated, but that's a personal opinion and a suspicion, not based on any particular fact. But they're the ones who refer to it as a pagan idol and an abomination. So who knows? And they're the ones who also say that Olaf Fola, the chief poet of Ireland, was Jeremiah, the biblical prophet who came to Ireland with the Ark of the Covenant and Jacob's pillow, which later became Lea Foyle, which was later conveniently for their narrative used as the coronation seat in Westminster. All a load of baloney, of course, to suit their narrative. Let's call it a form of Anglo-Saxon white supremacy. From the same authority, the two following stanzas are extracted. Of course, this is interesting because if Talchu is lost, the idea that the Ullud kings were buried there, the Ulster kings, is interesting because it's a long way down from Ulster. Karen says, thank you, Anthony. It's awful indeed. My mom, dad, and grandmother experienced a 7.4 magnitude of earthquake back in 1999 while we lived in Istanbul city. Unbelievable stuff. Our building didn't collapse, but it was indeed very, very scary. I can imagine. It's just horrendous looking at those images. And just total devastation, just very difficult to imagine, But anyway, we are glad that you are safe and sound. The three cemeteries of the idolaters are the cemetery of Tulchin the Select, the ever clean cemetery of Crochan. Apparently somebody is caretaking it, and the cemetery of Brew. The host of Great Meath were buried in the middle of the lordly Brew, that is Brew na Bóinne. The great Ultonians used to bury at Tulchin with pomp and ceremony, I hope. Pomp and ceremony. You can't have pomp without ceremony, can you? The above quotations have been compiled from Petrie's great works on the Round Towers and the Antiquities of Tara Hill. Of the cemeteries named, two can be identified with absolute certainty, viz. Those of the Brew, now known as Newgrange, upon the Bóinne, and Crochan, County Roscommon. But there is great probability that Tulchin may be the great necropolis situate on the Loughcrew Hills, not far from Oldcastle. And now we go on to Newgrange. The mausoleum of Newgrange in the county of Meath, lying at a distance of about 4.5 miles of Drogheda, is perhaps, without exception, the most wonderful monument of its class now existing in any part of Western Europe. And how can we argue with such a statement of fact? Okay, always bear in mind the subjectivity. There's always subjectivity, Donna Ferrer is in the house. Hello, everyone. Always glad when I can tune into part of the live. Well, you're very welcome, Donna. It's great to see you here. Still haven't made it to Newgrange. It's embarrassing at this point. That's Caitlin Moon. Yeah, you're only down the road. What's your excuse? You're nearly within walking distance. So all this was written in 1891. No, actually, Donna, we were saying earlier that the first edition of this was published during the time of the famine, or written during the time of the famine, published in 1848. Yes, I said that's the time of the famine. Sorry, apologies. This is the 1891 expanded, revised edition. In one point at least, it may challenge comparison with any Celtic monument known to exist, inasmuch as a number of the mighty stones of which its gallery and chambers, hereafter to be spoken of, are composed, exhibit a profusion of ornamental design consisting of spiral, lozenge, and zigzag work, such as is usually found upon the torques, urns, weapons, and other remains of pagan times in Ireland. We shall here say nothing of its probable antiquity, as it is anterior to the age of authentic Irish history. Newgrange is fantastic, says Joseph. I cannot agree more. And indeed, it would be vain to speculate upon the age of a work situated upon the banks of the Boyne, which, if found upon the banks of the Nile, would be styled a pyramid and perhaps be considered the oldest of all the pyramids of Egypt. I wonder how Wakeman would have felt had he been inquired, because we didn't know this until after, probably we didn't know the true age of Newgrange until the 1960s, maybe the 70s. It would be interesting if Wakeman had known its true age. If you were to say to him, do you know that's about 5,100 to 5,200 years old, I'm sure he would have been exasperated. The cairn, which even in its present ruinous conditions measures about 70 feet in height, from a little distance presents the appearance of a grassy hill, partially wooded. But upon examination, the coating of earth is found to be altogether superficial. And in several places, the stones of which the hill is entirely composed are laid bare. In other words, Newgrange is a cairn mostly composed of stone, not an earthen mound. A circle of enormous stones, of which 8 or 10 remain above ground, anciently surrounded its base. And we are informed that upon the summit an obelisk or huge pillar stone formerly stood. This is the one that I have theorized, and remembering that we can never be certain about any of this stuff. This is the one that I have theorized is Lech Ben, the mysterious stone mentioned in the mythology of Newgrange of Sheelan upon which the Mata, the great monster, was slain and dismembered. The opening represented at page 96, which is the graphic for today's, that's that drawing there of the entrance. The opening represented at page 96 was accidentally discovered about the year 1699 by labouring men employed in the removal of stones for the repair of a road. Actually, they were Charles Campbell's labourers, and they weren't repairing a road. They were robbing stones to build all his house and his outbuildings and his roads, you know. Irish technical thinker says that Newgrange is more beautiful than the pyramids of Egypt. I wouldn't necessarily argue with that. However, I have never seen the pyramids in real life, so only the pictures. It was the external entrance to the gallery, which extends in a direction nearly north and south. I'm terribly sorry, folks. Ugh, I really am. That's the problem when you turn on the heater and don't open a window. And communicates with a chamber or cave nearly in the center of the mound. But that's not actually true. Of course, we now know that the passage is oriented to the southeast, facing the winter solstice sunrise. And the chamber is not, in fact, located halfway into the mound. It's only located about a third of the way into the mound. Sheila Gunn is in the house. This is a no-brown zone, Sheila, but you are very welcome. This gallery, which measures in length about 50 feet, is at its entrance from the exterior 4 feet high, in breadth at the top 3 feet 2 inches, and at the base 3 feet 5 inches. These dimensions it retains, except in 1 or 2 places where the stones appear to have been forced from their original position for a distance of 21 feet from the external entrance. And of course, that was one of the things O'Kelly did, was removed the capping stones and righted those orthostats or passage stones that had leaned in. Thence towards the interior, its size gradually increases, and its height, where it forms the chamber, is 18 feet. Enormous blocks of stone, apparently water-worn, are supposed to have been brought from the mouth of the Bóinne, form 2 sides of the passage. Even that's very interesting, you know. That he's saying here that they're supposed to have been brought from the mouth of the Bóinne. I wonder, where did he hear that in 1848? Because only in recent decades, I mean in the past 2 or 3 decades, that we now, well, the geologists are fairly certain that the grey wacky slabs used in the curb and the structural scope of Newgrange came from Clogherhead by boat. and so would have sailed up through the mouth of the Boyne. Fascinating stuff. I wonder what his source was on that. In other words, was it a geologist that he was speaking to? Was it just somebody locally who was able to tell him something which had survived? Or was it in the folklore, you know? Are we keeping you up too late, says Elaine? Yes, yes. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? And it is roofed with similar stones. The ground plan of the chamber is cruciform, the head and arms of the cross being formed by 3 recesses, one placed perfectly fronting the entrance, the others east and west, and each containing a basin of granite. The sides of these recesses are composed of immense blocks of stone, several of which bear a great variety of carving, supposed by some to be symbolical. The engravings represent various characteristic selections from the work upon the roof of the eastern recess, in the construction and decoration of which a great degree of care appears to have been exercised. Caitlin Moon says, not a cairn in the world. An engraving upon a stone forming the northern external angle of the western recess is supposed to be an inscription. But even could any satisfactory explanation of it be given, its authenticity is doubtful, as it has been supposed to have been forged by one of the many dishonest Irish antiquaries of the last century. I think he's referring here to the one that's called the fern leaf. The same stone upon its eastern face exhibits what appears to have been intended as a representation of a fern or yew branch. Oh yeah, I think the inscription that he's referring to is this supposed inscription, the one that has been said to represent a boat. Who knows? And there's his drawing of the fern leaf. An ornament or hieroglyphic of a similar character was found within the ancient Celtic tomb at Loughcrew in Brittany. I can never pronounce the Loughcrew. Yeah, he has it spelt in a anglicized pronunciation. I always thought it was something like Loughmarkier or something like that. It is a very remarkable fact that the majority of these carvings must have been executed before the stones upon which they appear had been placed in their present positions. Of this there is abundant evidence in the eastern recess, where we find the lines continued over portions of the stone which it would be impossible now to reach with an instrument, and which form the sides of mere interstices. Nathaniel is also asking the same question. Yes, no is the answer. I'm sorry. Yes, take some water. As a fella used to say when I was growing up, and I used to be at the front of my house on the street that I grew up on, this fella used to pass, and if he saw you outside the door at night, he would just, as he was walking past, he'd just say, "Go to bed," and laugh. Go to bed. You know, it being nighttime and all of that. Wayne Bird says it's not water. It is. I hate to disappoint you, but actually that's what it is. The following illustrates some decorations of a very peculiar character which appear upon the sides of the eastern recess. I'll show you those. Oh yes, I forget that I have to move it. Focus, Anthony. A stone now lying upon the surface of the mound, a little above the opening already described, is shown in accompanying engraving. And that is the stone above. That is the lintel stone of the roof box, you know. And Vanway says, oh, so did someone ask that? I'm clearly not paying attention. Yes, so we had Elaine Dent Lingenfelter said, are we keeping you up too late? Lol. And then Van said, "Are we keeping you up, Anthony?" So yeah, look, it's all right. I apologize for it. I really do. I promise I will get some sleep between now and next week's episode. They're lovely sketches. Yeah, he was a very accomplished um, artist, a draftsman, and they're quite accurate. You know, a lot of the drawings in antiquarian publications, everything's very exaggerated. You know, I surmise that the cruciform shape, being unseen by Christians who use the cruciform shape churches and cathedrals, must be a universal archetype of mankind. Yeah, well, this is a crucifix shape that predates Christianity in Ireland by around 3,500 years, 3.5 millennia. Unbelievable stuff, isn't it? It's amazing. The lower portions of the walls of the chamber are composed of large uncemented stones placed in an upright position, over which are others laid horizontally, each course projecting slightly beyond that upon which it rests, and so on, until the sides so closely approximate that a single flag suffices to close in and complete the roof, which, in its highest part, is 20 feet above the present level of the floor. The length of the passage and chamber from north to south is 75, that's feet, and the breadth of the chamber from east to west, 20 feet. Of the urns or basins contained in the various recesses, that to the east is the most remarkable. It is formed of a block of granite and appears to have been set upon, or rather within, another of somewhat larger dimensions. It's easy to see where Tolkien got his idea for Hobbit Home, says Caitlin Moon. It looks quite similar. See the smaller mounds at Nouth, they look like Hobbit homes or the Teletubby houses. Grace Walker says, "Hi, Giagwich." Grace, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining us. What tool would have been used to carve the detail on the stone? Most of the engravings are picking or pocking, and it is assumed that they used a hard stone, like maybe a piece of quartz or flint, and hit it with a larger pebble to make each of the indentations, you know. It's quite a noisy experience too, especially if you're inside in a passage. Apparently their ears would have been ringing for a long time afterwards. It is formed of a block of granite. Of course, this is the basin stone sitting on another huge flagstone. Of its form, the annexed illustration will give a just idea. That's in the next page. Two small circular cavities have been cut within its interior, as represented above, a peculiarity not found in either of the others, which are of much ruder construction. That is, of course, the basin stone in the eastern recess with its two circle concave hollows. Subjoined is a representation of the basin in the western recess. In the neighbourhood of the Newgrange tumulus are two other monuments of the same class and of an extent nearly equal, the hills of Nouth and Douth, or as they are called by the Irish, Cnoabh, Cnoabh, that is not how it's spelled, but anyway, and Dubhath, or Duath, Dubhath. The former lying about 1 mile to the westward of Newgrange, and the latter of which the subjoined is an illustration, at a similar distance in the opposite direction. And now we move on to the sepulchral tumulus of Douth. Of the internal arrangement of this huge mausoleum, little, until very recently, was known beyond the fact that it was different from that of the monument last described, inasmuch as instead of one great gallery leading directly towards the centre of the pile, there appeared here the remains of two passages in a very ruinous state and completely stopped up, neither of which, however, seemed to have conducted towards a grand central chamber. The Committee of Antiquities of the Royal Irish Academy, having, in the course of the autumn of 1847, obtained permission from the trustees of the Netterville Charity, the proprietors of the Douth estate, to explore the interior of the tumulus, the work was commenced and carried on at considerable cost, which, under the immediate direction of Mr. Frith, and we have spoken about him on many a live stream, one of the county engineers. It should be observed that, from the difficulty of sinking a shaft along the loose, dry stones of which this hill, like that of Newgrange, is entirely composed, Mr. Frith, in order to arrive at the great central chamber which was supposed to exist, adopted the plan of making an open cutting from the base of the mound towards its centre. The first discovery was that of a cruciform chamber upon the western side, formed of stones of great size, every way similar to those at Newgrange, and exhibiting the same style of decoration. A rude sarcophagus bearing a striking resemblance to that in which the eastern recess, to that in the eastern recess of Newgrange, of which we have given an illustration, was found in the centre. It had been broken into several pieces, but the fragments were all recovered and placed together so as to afford a perfect idea of the original form. In clearing away the rubbish with which the chamber was nearly filled, the workmen discovered a large quantity of the bones of animals in a half-burned state and mixed with small shells. I just wonder about whether there were antlers in there, because remember in the early Neolithic there was a tendency to burn antlers and then sort of later human bones, and mixed with small shells. A pin of bronze and 2 small knives of iron were also picked up. With respect to instruments of iron being found in a monument of so early a date, we may observe that in the Annals of Ulster there occurs a record of this mound, as well as of several others in the neighbourhood, having been searched by the Northmen of Dublin as early as AD 862. And there, of course, we are talking about the Vikings. Quote, on one occasion, that the 3 kings, Amlaf, Aimar, and Anshela, were plundering the territory of Flan, the son of Coing, unquote. And it is an interesting fact that the knives are precisely similar in respect to a number discovered together with a quantity of other antiques in the bog of Lagore near Dunshaughlin, and which there is reason to refer to a period between the 9th and the beginning of the 11th centuries. I believe Lagore was the seat of the kings of southern Brega, Nouth being the seat of the kings of northern Brega. If I'm not entirely correct about that, I apologise. Upon the chamber being cleared out, a passage 27 feet in length was discovered, the sides of which incline considerably, leading in a westerly direction towards the side of the mound, and composed, like the similar passage at Newgrange, of enormous stones placed edgeways and covered with large flags. The chamber, of inferior size to that of Newgrange, is constructed so nearly upon the same plan that a description of one might also serve for that of the other. The recesses, however, do not contain basins, and a passage extending in a southerly direction, communicating with a series of small crypts, forms here another peculiarity. A huge stone, about 9 feet in height, 8 feet in breadth, placed between the northern and eastern recesses, is remarkable for the singular character of its carving. A portion of the work upon this stone bears great resemblance to Ogham writing. A sepulchral chamber of a quadrangular form, portions of which bear a great variety of carving, among which the cross, a symbol which neither in the Old or the New World can be considered as peculiar to Christianity, is conspicuous, has been discovered upon the southern side of the mound. Just want to say hello to Tarini Pendleton, who has joined us from Laguna Beach in California. Good afternoon, Tarini. Hope you are safe and well and that the weather is nice in California. Copy and paste builder, says Marcus. Here as elsewhere. Actually, Newgrange then was a copy of Doubt, because I think Doubt was probably built first. Here as elsewhere, during the course of excavation, the workmen unearthed vast quantities of bones, half burned, many of which proved to be human. Quote, several unburned bones of horses, pigs, deer, and birds, portions of the heads of the short-horned variety of the ox, and the head of a fox, unquote. They also found a star-shaped amulet of stone, a ring of jet, several beads, and some bones fashioned like pins. Among the stones of the upper portion of the cairn were discovered a number of globular balls of stone, the size of small eggs, which Sir W. Wilde, that's Sir Wilde, who was the keeper of antiquities of the Royal Irish Academy, father of Oscar Wilde, and himself the author of a book called The Beauties of the Bóinne and Blackwater, supposed probably to have been stones. You can see some of those spherical balls from Douth and Loughcrew and other places in the National Museum of Ireland in Dublin. A double circle of stones appears anciently to have surrounded this cairn. Of these, the greater number lie buried. A double circle? It's interesting. But in summertime, their position, particularly after a long continuance of sunny weather, is shown by the remarkably dry and withered appearance of the grass above them. Among the trees between the mound of Douth and the mansion are some remains of a small sepulchral chamber, and a little to the east of the house, the student will find a grand specimen of the ancient military encampment or rath. And of course, that is Site Q, the Douth Henge, which is not a military encampment, but a henge, an Enoch site, a gathering place. They must have written up building plans for Newgrange, just like any architectural designer. But what did they write them on, I suppose, is the question, you know. Since the above account of the grand tumuli of Newgrange and Louth was written now 40 years ago, which is early 1800s, scarcely a single change in the internal aspect. Oh, sorry, this is the 1891 edition, so it's, yeah. He's talking about time just after the excavations of Douth, which were really botched treasure hunting in its worst form. Theresa McGuinness is in the house. Hello, friends. Well, hello to you, Theresa. Sláinte. Welcome to the live stream. Scarcely a single change in the internal aspect of the former structure can be perceived. True it is that one of the stones forming the gallery or passage leading to the chamber had slightly slipped inwards and threatened to block the way. Another stone on the interior had been forced by lateral pressure considerably out of its proper position, and some portion of the neighbouring wall seemed likely to give way for want of its support. However, the attention of the officers of the Board of Public Works, in whose custody the monument is vested, have undertaken to do all that is necessary to strengthen the weaker portions of the structure. Goatskin, yes, yeah, they could write plans on goatskin or sheepskin, higher quality photo paper, says Patricia. I'm not sure if we said hello to you this evening, Patricia, but hello and welcome to Live Irish Myths. At Douth, during their work of conservation carried out a few years ago, a fine a fine beehive-shaped chamber was discovered a little to the right of the main gallery. This should be seen by all students of Irish megalithic works, especially as it seems perfect in itself, and that at least one of its side stones exhibits a profusion of archaic carving, kindred to but slightly differing from anything found at Newgrange. At least Heinrich Schliemann didn't make it to Ireland. He would have blown everything up, says Caitlin. Yeah, he probably would. But there are suggestions that there was dynamite used in the excavations of Douth, of which I have I believe. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second till I find this now. The botched excavations. Yes. The botched excavation of Doubt. I'll just paste that in as a link if you're interested in going to read it afterwards. But there was what was the one? Oh, is Doubt a crematorium? Yeah, that's the one. Oh, I don't have that on the website, so that must be something that I used as a talk, and maybe I shared for patrons and didn't publish. Anyway, there you go. Patricia Patsy O'Malley Boyd is in the house. Jiaguch, Patricia, thank you for joining us. You're very welcome. And Patricia says, I just snuck in at the back of the theatre. I like that. The theatre. Yes. There's a bit of performing going on. They used dynamite. Surely they weren't American. I can't remember where I read that. But there are suggestions that Frith and his colleagues used dynamite. Or was that McAllister and Prager at Carrow Keel? I'm not sure. Just looking through my pictures from the National Museum, there are two large stone balls from the passage tomb at Loughcrew, says Mavanway. Yes, there is a glass box, display box now. It's a few years since I've been in the museum, pre-pandemic. There is a glass box with a display box with several of the spherical balls of different sizes. Very interesting. Nobody knows what they were for. The tumulus at Knowth, the other great monument, Knowth, of this group, has probably never been entered since the time it was plundered and doubtlessly ruined by the Danes. For many years, it has served as a convenient quarry for builders of houses and repairers of roads. That it could be explored at little cost is certain, as owing to the denudation it has suffered, the passage or gallery leading to its cave has in part been laid bare. In any other country, this is fascinating because remember, this is the two Neolithic passages of Knowth were not discovered until the 1960s by George Ogan. So I'm not sure what he's suggesting had been found in the 19th century. Owing to the denudation it has suffered, the passage or gallery leading to its cave has in part been laid bare. I know that there are souterrains which were connected with those more ancient Neolithic passages. In any other country, such a monument would not for a day be left neglected and a prey to needy builders and road contractors. Well said. Its circle or circles are not altogether obliterated, and here and there some portions remain which show that the work, though less massive than that of Newgrange, was at least as striking as anything to be found at Doubt or in connection with the remains at Loughcrew or others occurring in the western districts of Ireland. In here, he is factually incorrect because Knowth is actually the largest of the three great mounds in terms of its diameter or circumference and the surface area that it covers. A visit from Drogheda to Doubt, Newgrange and Knowth could easily be accomplished by car in part of a summer's day. The scenery in the district is in its way perhaps the most beautiful in Ireland. Can't disagree with that. Brendan Byrne, have they ever conducted proper LiDAR examinations of the mounds of Tara? Yes. The Discovery Programme was, I'm not sure if it still is, but certainly was active at Tara for at least a couple of decades. They did LiDAR, they did other ground penetrating radar and other methods, geophys, of looking at what was beneath the surface. Sadly, I think dynamite was standard practice, Caitlin tells us, in the early days of archaeology. I know. Terrible, really. Pagan Cemetery near Oldcastle, County Meath. Oldcastle is within an easy railway drive from the metropolis. Back in the day, folks, you used to be able to get a train. Well, you could get a train from Dublin to Drogheda and travel from Drogheda across to Navan and to Oldcastle on the Oldcastle branch line. Or in those days, you could also get a train direct from Dublin to Navan and then across to Oldcastle on the branch line. Sadly, those days are long, long gone. It was the 1940s, I believe, the branch line to Oldcastle closed. To the antiquary, to the explorer of sepulchral remains of a very remote past, the Slieve-na-Collia range of picturesque hills just over Oldcastle offers a quarry almost inexhaustible. There indeed, within the radius of a rifle shot, may be seen grouped together the most extraordinary collection of archaic monuments to be found in Ireland, perhaps in Western Europe. These, for the most part, consist of megalithic sepulchres surmounted by tumuli and environed by stone circles. Many of the stones forming the chambers are covered with a profusion of carvings, which there is every reason to believe are of a symbolic character. Kathy Maydeo has joined us on her late lunch. Good afternoon, Kathy May. So good to see you. Apparently, I turned into Darth Vader for a while, Brendan says, voice wise. You don't know the power of the dark side of the. Many of the stones forming the chambers are covered with a profusion of carvings, which there is every reason to believe are of a symbolic character. A key to their meaning, however, has yet to be discovered, if indeed the mystery in which they are at present enveloped can ever be dispelled. Something I've been talking about lately. Apparently didn't go down too well with some people, but anyway, there you go. I don't know if the megalithic art of the Irish passage mounds will ever be fully understood. It is perhaps not too much to say that on Slieve na Calia and on the stones at Newgrange of Doubt may be studied a greater number of bizarre cryptic sepulchral scorings or devices than to be found in Britain, Caledonia, and Gaul united. Apparently, Desiree also heard the Darth Vader voice. Bev Davis is in the house. Hello, Bev. Had to restart. Came back on the Vader voice. Scary. Not one historical line in connection with this great cemetery has been discovered, or at least absolutely identified with it. Until 1858, the very existence of the antiquities in and around Slieve na Calia seems to have been unknown to all but one gentleman and a few herds, who believed the cairns and other remains to be the work of a witch named Calia or the Calivera. Adele Perth has joined us. A very good morning. Good day, mate, from down under. Great to catch a live, but very late. Hey, Adele, it's always a case of better late than never. We're glad to see you, and I hope you're keeping well. Who, in attempting a wild leap in the adjoining townland of Patrickstown, was unfortunate enough to fall and break her neck. In August of the year named, I visited the place under the hospitable guidance of Mr. Searank, then the worthy county surveyor of Meath, an observer possessed of much information on archaeological matters, and who had already noticed and even sketched several of the mysterious carvings which appear upon the stones. On that occasion, I measured and made plans of several of the remains, and later in the same year drew up a paper on the subject, which paper was kindly read in my name before the Architectural Society of Oxford by J. H. Parker, Esquire, C.B., the well-known archaeologist of Oxford. I am thus particular in giving names and dates in connection with the first public notice of the antiquities of Slieve na Calia, as a gentleman who did not become acquainted with them until several years after the public reading of the paper referred to, claimed the honour of being their discoverer, a distinction to which he was in no way entitled. I presume he's referring to Eugene Conwell, who excavated some of the cairns in the 1860s. Some kind of scintillation disturbing the signal. Twilight Zone, folks. Something strange going on. I fear Anthony has opened a portal. I did say that early on, didn't I? I was talked about the portal. Who knows? Nevertheless, the claimant, the late Eugene Alfred Conwell. Anthony, why don't you just read the stuff instead of trying to pre-guess? MRIA, etc. Inspector of Irish National Schools, has done good service to archaeology, inasmuch as, with the liberal cooperation of the late J.L.W. Napper, D.L., owner of the soil, he has been enabled to clear out the majority of the chambers. Why would he want to clear them out? Where's all the stuff that he cleared out? It would be absolutely invaluable to archaeologists and geneticists right now. And investigate what had been left by former searchers of their contents. Never mind what might be there if the people actually built it. An immense amount of debris was removed and stones for ages buried brought to light. Many of the latter are singularly carved, and not a few present designs not previously known. And not a few present designs not previously known to antiquaries. There is a disturbance in the force. Yes, indeed. The idea seems to have struck Mr. Ferguson, who, at least on one occasion, accompanied Mr. Conwell to the place that the Loughcrew monuments represented the once famous but long forgotten cemetery of Talchin, a place which is supposed to be represented by the modern Tell town, about 15 miles distant. After suggesting many pros and cons in reference to the supposed identification, Mr. Ferguson writes, quote, "If, however, this is not Talchin, no graves have been found nearer Telltown, which would at all answer to the description that remains to us of this celebrated cemetery. Until they are found, these Loughcrew mounds seem certainly entitled to the distinction. I cannot see that the matter is doubtful." Lots of people saying they heard a scary voice. I'll have to listen to this one back as well to see what you're all talking about. And then I'll go, oh, that's what they're talking about. And I'll say that was a glitch, a technical glitch of some kind, gremlins in the wires. If this be Talchin, and it very probably is, we may here study some of the oldest forms of known sepulchral monuments to be found in Ireland. According to the Annals of the Four Masters, as translated by the late Dr. O'Donovan, numerous were the kings and nobles here buried. The first whose name is mentioned is Olaf Fola, the son of Feka Finskoch. Yuki was the first name, Yuki being the name, as we've said before, of many Irish kings. And, quote, he was called Olaf Fola because he had been a first learned Olaf and afterwards king of Fola, i.e. of Ireland, unquote. Of course, Fola being one of the poetic names of Ireland, along with Banba and Eru, and that's from Laura Gawala Éireann, the Book of Invasions, in specifically the arrival of the Milesians and the three tutelary or guardian goddesses ask Amergin Glungal if the Milesians will allow the country to be named after these three goddesses. The Four Masters set down his death as having occurred in 1277 BC, which, by the way, folks, is the Bronze Age. Our oldest and most trustworthy authorities state that Talchin ceased to be used as a cemetery on the death of Concovar or Crohor, an Ultonian king who flourished in Éireann at the commencement of the Christian era and who, according to the Annals of Tirnach, died AD 33. The principal monument of the group, the ruins of about 24 besides numerous smaller graves remain, measures 116 feet in diameter. I presume this is Cairn T he's referring to. It contains a cruciform chamber like that at Newgrange, in miniature, the entrance to which faces due east. Yes, indeed, this is Cairn T, and is approached by a shallow, funnel-shaped recess. Round the base is a closely set circle of stones, varying from 6 to 12 feet in length, and acting as a kind of retaining fence to the loose, dry boulders which form the body of the tumulus. One of these stones has excited peculiar attention. It is known to the neighbouring people as the Hag's Chair. Mr. Ferguson states there can be little doubt that it was intended as a seat or throne, but whether by the king who erected the sepulchre or for what purpose it was difficult to say. But clearly, if it's the Hag's Chair, it's not the king's chair. For God's sake, gentlemen, will you read the thing? Oh, of course. Yes. Misogyny. Victorian era or 19th century misogyny. women can't have had any status, so it must have been a chair for a man, even though its name is the hag's chair. Mr. Conwell, however, was much more sanguine and precise. Without the slightest authority for so doing, he rushes to the conclusion that this particular mausoleum must be the tomb of Olav Fola, and that the chair cannot be other than the judicial seat or throne of that famous king. Yeah, because you sit in your throne right beside where you're going to be buried. I don't know. I'm a bit suspicious. Nora Gaffney O'Connor has to go. Slán. Have a good one. See you later, Nora. Have a great evening. I'm nearly finished, by the way. A couple of minutes to go. He writes, quote, and to whom, keeping in view the preceding manuscript testimony, unquote, the MS brackets, the M manuscripts only state that the Olav was buried at Taltu, unbracket, close bracket, open quote, could this great megalithic chair be more appropriately ascribed than to Olav Fola? And of course, it is this claim by Conwell that is jumped upon by modern British Israelites, because they think Olav Fola was Jeremiah, and they love the idea that this is the place that he was buried in about the 6th century BC. Thank you indeed, Marcus. Glad you enjoy them. I enjoy your company, as always. It would be natural to suppose, this is still a Conwell quote, that for the site of the tomb of the great king and lawmaker, his posterity, or indeed probably he himself, during his own lifetime, selected the most elevated spot on the entire range. Hence we propose to call the cairn on that spot, 904 feet above the sea level and situated on the middle hill, Olav Fola's tomb, and the great stone seat, Olav Fola's chair, even though you were previously told it was called the Hag's Chair. You want to change its name. Thankfully, that didn't stick. It is known today as the Hag's Chair. And the ruined remains of the smaller surrounding cairns, 6 of which still remain, the tombs of his sons and grandsons mentioned in the previous extracts. In fact, on the summit of the highest hill in the site of this ancient royal cemetery, we believe there still exists the remains of the tombs of the dynasty of Olav Fola, unquote, exclamation mark. Take it with a bucket of salt, pinch of salt, but if you have a bucket, you know. Debbie Sheehy is listening from Melbourne, Australia. Great to be here. Well, Debbie, what a fabulous honour and delight. A very good morning to you. Hope life is treating you well down under. Hope it's not too warm. You're heading into autumn as we look forward to spring and the lengthening of the days. Good to see you and to hear from you. And thanks for tuning in. A voluminous report of the explorations at Loughcrew, accompanied by a large number of plans and drawings, was prepared by Mr. Conwell with a view to publication, but the intention, for some reason or other, appears not to have been carried out. A very sketchy account of several of the principal cairns and their scorings, contents, etc., was laid by him before the Royal Irish Academy. This was subsequently printed and circulated, but the materials for the greater work remain neglected, if not forgotten. This is to be regretted. Many of the speculations, no doubt, might be well dispensed with, but it is to be presumed the illustrations, especially if from rubbings and by measured plans, would be of considerable value, but also would be of considerable value. Oh, I've run out. Hang on a second. One moment, please. We are experiencing technical difficulty. I want to read the last remaining few words of that sentence, which I didn't print. Apologies. Between Darth Vader voices and incomplete scripts. This is Wakeman. And we are looking for page. If you have it, folks, it's downloadable from the internet as a PDF. This is page 114. Okay, let me start that sentence again and read the end of it then for you, and then we'll be done. This is to be regretted. Many of the speculations, no doubt, might be well dispensed with, but it is to be presumed the illustrations, especially if from rubbings and by measured plans, would be of considerable value to archaeological inquirers. Such illustrations, however, should be beyond suspicion, and the rubbings not tampered with. And there ends the bit that we were going to read for tonight, which deals with Bóinne and Teltown, as explored by William Wakeman, a clearly well-to-do antiquarian of the time of the Great Famine in Ireland. He was obviously at Douth in the era during Frith's disastrous excavations there. His insights are fascinating, but more so his drawings, actually, because they're pretty damn good. And in all of Wakeman's drawings, you can see quite stark resemblances to much of what remains of these places. So it's a valuable historical record, you know. Yes, our last month of summer here, and the weather is lovely, yeah. But Debbie, like even in the winter, you probably still get 20 degrees Celsius, you know. But mind you, you probably won't mind the fact that it'll get a bit cooler because it gets a bit hot in Australia during the summer, doesn't it? As you leave the village of Kilmac, is that Kilmacanock or Kilmacanogue, Kilmacanock in Wicklow, heading south, there's a large mound in a field on the left-hand side of the N11. And every day I wonder whether it is natural or not. It looks just so perfect. I'm going to check the historical environment viewer as we are talking to you, Brendan, to see if it is. I might have been down that way loads and I've never noticed that, or maybe I have and I've just forgotten that I'd noticed. Kilmacanock. On the old N11, is it? Or is it on the N11 motorway? In a field on the left-hand side. As you leave the village of Kilmacanock, just looking as you drive south to the left, habitation site, house, Bronze Age. Wow. Wonder is it for sale? Where do you get the key? Yeah, I don't see a mound there, so I just wonder about that. Like you, might be. If it's not on the map, it probably means that it isn't. You know, it would look out to the Sugarloaf. Time flies when you're having fun, says Alva. I swear we said hello 5 minutes ago. I know. All right, not in Melbourne. We can get 1 or 2 degrees overnight and highs of only 11 degrees during the day. Okay, that sounds more like an Irish winter, so bearable though. You know, thank you for another wonderful Monday, Mr. Anthony. Well, thank you, Kathy May, for tuning in. So good to see you. Enjoy your lunch break, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Valerie Gallagher was very glad to catch the tail end of this. Yeah. Don't forget, of course, you can watch these episodes back once it's finished. It'll be available on YouTube and on Facebook. But I'm going back to watch episode 201, which Mavanway says will have us all in stitches. I can't remember it, but maybe when I watch it, it'll leave us in hysterics. Maybe a better idea, Brendan, would be to use Google Earth or Google Earth, Google Street View, and have a look. Coming as you leave Kilmacanock. I love that name, Kilmacanock, because if you look at the Irish, it's like the church or the wood of the young son, Macon Og, you know. As you leave the village, let me just Curia, excuse me. Oh, I do apologize. Sorry. As you leave, heading south. Is that where the slip road comes down onto the motorway? Is it? Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, maybe Brandon, send me on a Google pin of it, a Google Maps pin, so I can identify the exact location and just double check whether it is recorded or not. Somebody else will know. Thank you to all the people who said bless you. Yeah. I have a problem in that I take a bout of sneezing every day. I seem to have allergies. And I was on antihistamines for a while, but I noticed that the antihistamines dried up my nose to this extent that I couldn't smell anything and then I couldn't taste anything. So I had to stop taking them. So I only really take them now if I have a really bad episode of sneezes and watery eyes. Robin Moonshadow says, thank you. Love learning about the culture of my ancestors. Good to see everyone. See you all next time. Yes, indeed, Robin. Have a great week. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully see you next week. Thank you, Anthony, says Adina, for an interesting episode. Be safe, everyone. Absolutely. Any happy returns. Thanks for another great episode, and bless you, says Elaine. Thanks, Elaine. And have a great week over there. Oh, bless you, says Mavanway. Hope you all have a lovely week and look forward to catching up next Monday. Look forward to listening to episode 202. Let's see if it's as funny as 201. Yes, indeed. Let's see, indeed. There are occasional shows that are just descend into hilarity, you know. Tom King, thank you, Tom. Always so enjoyable. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, friends of the tour. Stay safe out there. Have a lovely week. You too, Tom. Hope the forge is burning brightly as we speak. We have words on the live stream that were missing at one point. Yeah, I'm going to listen to that back just to have a... I don't think I'll be able to listen to the whole thing. I'd bore myself to tears, you know. But anyway, thank you all. And don't forget, you can support Mythical Ireland by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. If you want to buy any of the books that I've published there on the website, the address is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, where we also recently introduced merchandise, and that's been doing very well. And of course, the man himself, Ongawa Tom King, who won the Best Overall Product Award at Showcase 2023, has several beautiful items which are on sale through the website. Wash hands, says Mark Aspel. Very good point. And in fact, I have a bottle of the sand sanitizer to hand available. Close the portal and good night, says Brendan. Yes, indeed. Seems that some mysterious Vader energy was pouring out through that tonight. Always good stuff to learn from you. Thanks, Patricia. Always glad that people enjoy and people are learning something, which is great. A great privilege and a great pleasure. Adrian O'Beglin, interesting episode. Thanks, Anthony. Ichawa, Adrian Macara, and we'll see you soon. Anyway, we have reached that time of the night where it is remains only for me to say Ichawa, or if you're in Australia, have a great day. Trelawnawa, Kolosov, sound sleep. Desiree, you definitely don't go to sleep. You're at the wheel of the car. And Kolosov, sound sleep, and Slán go Fóill, bye for now. And in the meantime, Catherine Knox, night night. And the other important thing to say is, of course, Tóg go Bugé, which means take it easy. Ichawas. Slán. Do you want another joke? Hang on a second. Just to see who's desperate enough to hang around. Allow me to consult my online gallery of recent hilarious... My wife thinks it's weird that I stare at the window during a heavy thunderstorm. During a heavy rainstorm, even. Well, it would be a lot less weird if she just let me in. Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, Ichawa, thank you for joining us. And yes, a lot of people asking for a joke. I don't know how hard up you are for entertainment. Clearly, very hard up for entertainment. Anyway, Tóg go Bugé. Some funny responses. Yes, indeed. Yes. Don't encourage him. Slán go Fóill.